Here we go. Good morning, parents. Out walking the dog this morning, and I started thinking about something that was eating at me today because of some things that would happen in our game the other day or yesterday. And it really goes back to this whole thought process around confidence. And it really goes to the fact that can a coach instill confidence in a player? And I can go yes and no, but I'm really leaning more towards no. What a coach can do is help a player who has confidence. And how does a player get confidence? We're going to use the analogy or the example of kids in school. When a kid's in school and they're good at math and they're good at science or they're good at English, can write a term paper, can do all these things. Where does that confidence come from? The teacher doesn't have to tell them, but where it comes from is they do the homework. They do get good grades on it. They take quizzes. They get good grades on it. They take exams. They get good grades on it. And so what that does is build confidence. They say, "Hey, I'm good at this subject. I'm good at math. I'm good at science. I'm good at English. Man, I get A's every time I do anything. I get an A." And that's where that confidence comes from. The teacher doesn't have to tell them anything. That math teacher doesn't have to say, "Oh, you're good at math," and "Oh, you're good at," and even the parents don't really have to say anything. They've proven it to themselves. They've proven it to themselves that, hey, by the results that they get, I'm good at this. And that goes back to the same thing in basketball and sports in general. If the kid is not putting the work in and not getting the results they expect, i.e., let's go back to school, you get a D or an F in the exam. Same thing is with what happens in a game with sports. You get the ball stolen from you. That's an F. You can't bring the ball up the court with your other hand and they keep pushing to your other hand. That's an F. Just like in school. But when you build up the confidence and start practicing it, doing the homework, keep working on it and keep working on it, and in practice, I'm at home, I'm doing this and I'm doing well with my left hand or my weak hand. And when I get home, when I do get my quizzes, which are the tests, which are the games, I do well. They can't take the ball from me. They can't steal the ball from me. I can handle that ball. And then when I get to the tournaments, the exam, then, they can't take the ball from me either. Okay, I'm good at ball handling, for an example. Or I'm good at shooting. Or I'm good at creating assists and getting my team in the right place. Or, getting my team layups. Or playing really good defense. All that comes from practicing and doing the work and doing the homework and then continuing to challenge yourself as you do in school. And so that's the thing that gets me right now is as I was thinking through this today, and I was just like, it frustrates me because I think that part of the reason basketball and sports has become so expensive is because we're paying people to babysit kids. We're paying people to make your kid do your homework. You're paying people to make your kid go take 100 jump shots. You're having to pay people to have your kids go work on their ball handling. Oh, I got to get my skills coach to help him with this. I got to get skills coaches and all those things are good for certain things, to help a kid get over a certain hurdle. But the basics, You should be able to do that at home. You shouldn't have to pay somebody to help your kid learn how to dribble. You should be able to do a lot of that at home, saving you money. So my biggest thing is these kids need to do the work, do the homework. I've got kids on my team right now that are fourth grader that are still struggling to dribble the ball. That's concerning to me. But that tells me they're not doing the work. I can go into a gym in 5 minutes of one of my kids and say, oh, he's been practicing or he hasn't been practicing. I can see it within 5 minutes when I see them handle the ball. And you're not fooling anybody. And some of the kids think they are, but again, the proof comes in the pudding when you start talking about the games and the tournaments and everything else, and you see these kids just taking the ball from players and just dominating players because they didn't put the work in. And half of that work could have been done at home at no cost. Okay? So, again, we have to do the homework. Do the homework. You don't expect to get an A in math, algebra, whatever it is that you're doing in math, without doing any homework. You are not expecting to get an A in science or social studies or English without doing any homework, without doing well on your quiz. You're not expecting to get an A in that exam. So why would you think you're going to get an A when it comes to sports when you're not doing the homework? You're not. Just not. And then what happens is parents start blaming coaches and everything else instead of putting the ownership where it needs to be. What's the root cause? Did they do the homework? Did you get out with them? And if you're in a neighborhood where you need to walk with them, walk them down the block doing their ball handling. What did you do to help them? Or did you just pay somebody to do it? You can pay somebody for those that have that income, to babysit them. But for those that don't or don't want to utilize their funds that way, you need to get out with them and you need to push them. It's not a simple thing of you sit here and you put it on a fourth grader or a third grader. Well, if you want to play, you can do. No, at that age, you gotta nudge them. Sometimes it's got to be a little bit more than a nudge. But at that age, it's so easy to quit stuff, and move on to the next thing, especially in this day and age. All right. So again, do the homework. Challenge yourself. Do the homework every day. So that now when it comes down to the quizzes, which are their league games or whatever, you get an A. And then as you get an A there, then as you keep building those A's up, when it comes to the final exam, when you start getting into big time tournaments or really good tournaments, you get an A there too. You're going to benefit from that, not your parents. You are. So the players are going to benefit from that. So do the homework. All right. You guys have a great day. Take care.